Good afternoon. I'm glad to be back with you and a very happy new year to you. Well, the year is starting off as warm as 2023 ended. That has meant a lack of snowfall. We're asking, what have you seen at ski hills and mountains? And what will this dry run mean for our water sources this coming spring? And the new year also means time to tackle that clutter that's been piling up in our homes and in our lives. We'll talk about decluttering and ask you what you need to clear for 2024. Do you have a plan? Linda Chu of Out of Chaos will join us to take your calls. I'm Michelle Eliot. Welcome to BC Today. Thank you for joining us on CBC Radio 1 and live streaming on the CBC News app, cbc.ca/BC, our website, and the CBC Vancouver YouTube page. We are midway through an unseasonably warm winter in BC, and for many, that's meant a lack of snow and rain. Now, snow is predicted to fall this week. There's snow falling today around the lower mainland, but will it be enough? Drought conditions have eased for some regions, but the eastern and central parts of BC are still at the highest level of drought. We're going to hear from the mayor of McBride about what his region is experiencing. Meanwhile, that lack of snow is impacting whole towns who rely on winter tourism. We're going to find out more about that too. But we're asking you on the open line, what snow conditions have you seen at ski hills and at mountains that you visited? And what are your concerns about the impact of this warm and dry winter? You can give us a call, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 on your cell phone. You can email to bctoday@cbc.ca. Joseph Shea is an associate professor at the University of Northern BC in the Faculty of Environment, and he says this is a continuation of that record-breaking warmth that we did see throughout 2023, and that a drought at this time of year can bring its own challenges.
A wintertime drought could be two things. It could be just there's no snow happening, but it could also be that it's too warm to snow, or like you say, it snows and then it melts away again. And that's kind of what we're seeing here. We actually had precipitation in December, but it disappeared or it was rain. And so, a snow drought is a concern in places where snow melt becomes an important part of the water supply or the stream flows and the ecosystems that rely on that snow melt. Vancouver's a classic example. There's lots of reservoirs that supply the city basin in the North Shore Mountains. And if you don't get that snowpack built up in the wintertime, then you're going to be looking at shortages of water down the road in the summertime.
We are asking you about that. What does the warm, dry winter that we're seeing now mean for the coming months ahead? What will it mean for those water sources? What are your concerns? And if you've been out to a ski hill over this holiday break, what were your own observations? You can give us a call, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, and pound 690 is what you can hit on your cell phone as well. And yes, some owners of winter activity businesses in BC say that warm weather and lack of snowfall is taking a toll on those ski hills and backcountry trails. Now, CBC's Nanaimo-based reporter Claire Palmer is in Mount Washington, and she joins us now live from there. Hello there, Claire.
Hi, how are you?
I am fine. You look like you're doing fine as well. I'm just going to describe what you look like and what's around you there. You've got sunglasses on, so it's sunny, or the sun is out, but I see a lot of snow behind you and some what I assume to be fairly happy skiers there.
Absolutely. It is a beautiful bluebird day out here at Mount Washington. Sunny skies. There is snow on the ground, which is always making for happy skiers. It's a bit icy out here, and there are some brown spots out on the hill, but people are happy to be out there on their skis.
Well, what have you heard from people there about what the conditions have been like and what brings them there today?
Mount Washington was lucky enough to get some snow over Christmas break here, so they are opening more terrain. The Hawk Chair just opened today, I believe. But yeah, I'm hearing that day passes are down, whereas season ticket holders are coming out because they paid for their passes this summer before they knew what conditions were. People are saying that it has been a less busy Christmas. You're seeing it in the restaurants and all of that. There's less lift lines, but people are happy to be out here.
Okay. And so is the issue then more with what people have been hearing about a dry winter?
It definitely was an issue up until about a week ago when there was some fresh snowfall. They only had one chair running to start the season. The tube park was struggling, but now it's bouncing back with some wetter weather.
And what is the impact on the local economy, Claire? You've touched on it a little bit with some things slowing down and people not buying as many day passes. But overall, how much does the community rely on this business?
We've been hearing from a couple local hotels in the Comox Valley about bookings being down, people hearing about the forecast, deciding not to come on their trips. Although some people are persevering and deciding that they're going to have fun on the mountain anyways. Yesterday, my colleague Maurice did touch base with the Blue Toque. They're a local consignment store based in Courtney, and they specialize in selling used ski equipment. They say that they've seen a noticeable dip in sales. It's not anything that's going to be, business ending, or it's not really the end of the world for them, but it has been noticeable that they are seeing that people aren't coming to buy skis this year, and they're not coming to buy snow jackets and all of that because of the season that we're having.
And so what's in the forecast then?
Everyone's pretty excited because there is some snow and some cold weather on the way next week. The Mount Washington is expecting things to pick up once that happens. Long term, the El Nino is still going to persist, so hopefully it's not a freeze thaw kind of winter.
Right.
But right now we're sitting at about a 40 centimeter base when typically this time of year it'd be 100. So some fresh snow next week is welcome news.
Okay. Hopefully less icy.
Less icy for sure.
Claire, thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you.
That's Claire Palmer, who's the CBC's Nanaimo-based journalist live in Mount Washington. And she's going to have more on that story coming up this afternoon on CBC Radio on All Points West for listeners there on the island, and on CBC television as well, coming up on the CBC News at 6. And we are taking your calls on this as well, asking you what you have seen when you have visited ski hills and local mountains where you live. You can give us a call. And what concerns do you have about what this warm winter does mean? 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, and pound 690 on your cell phone. And Carrie is joining us from Windle, south of Creston, and I think we're just getting Carrie on the line right now. So we'll go to Carrie as soon as we have that call ready. But right now, we're going to have more for you on that toll that the lack of snowfall has brought for businesses and even for groups that are organizing those kinds of trips on ski hills and trails. Judy Kasiyama is a founder of Color the Trails. And Judy says the disappointing season has delayed her organization's ski and snowboarding lessons.
It's actually quite sad to be this late in the season and not see any snow. I can look out my window and look at the local resort and see absolutely just like brown. It's been very sad and disappointing. So we're just honestly just kind of like doing our snow dance and trying to just wait it out and see, hopefully by later this month, we get some snow so we can get some of our program kicking forward. But then when I look at the local resort here, it's difficult in terms of like, I think for a lot of us who are in the winter sport, we're recognizing that climate change is happening, but also recognizing that, it's nature, it's what Mother Nature is doing, and we have no control over. So all we can do just honestly just wait and hope that that the snow comes back and we can be able to do something on the mountain, because right now a lot of our programs on standstill. People are very excited. A lot of people are very excited to either learn to ski or snowboard, but we're unable to fulfill that just because there's not enough snow and it's not safe conditions to take people up there.
That's the founder of Color the Trails, Judy Kasiyama, and she was speaking with CBC's On the Coast. We've been asking you what kind of conditions you have seen where you live. Our number again, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. We're going to find out more about the impact of the drought on the community of McBride in a couple of moments as well. Right now, Carrie is joining us from Windle, near Creston. Hi there, Carrie.
Hello.
And what does it look like near the Rocky Mountains?
Well, I just harvested my broccoli yesterday.
Okay.
Because my broccoli is still alive.
It's still doing okay. Wow. What does that mean then? What does that tell you about the conditions and the temperatures?
So our nominal temperatures in the month of December are between +2 and -7. And early December, we had temperatures of +8.
Wow.
There's no snow on the ground. There's snow in the mountains that we can see, and we had a little bit last night, but it's already melted off. It's +3 here right now beside the lake, and it's climate change.
Yeah. Tell me more about that. You're looking at your broccoli. Yes, it's it's doing well and edible, but I mean, how strange and how, um, I guess, disconcerting is that?
So in our community in Wendell, we have a water reservoir that is fed by a snowpack normally, and there's no snowpack. So our water reservoir, because it is we have an irrigation system for our crops and our fruits and stuff. So we're going to have without snow, there's not going to be as much water in our reservoir. So we're going to be facing very likely water issues later on in the season. Some people are telling me that they got buds on their peaches. Their peaches are already starting to bud out. I've noticed that on the apples as well too. They're already starting to bud out. Yeah. Just because it's not getting cold enough. And of course, we are an interface with the forest, so we face the very near threat of forest fire in our region.
Absolutely. Those are the two big concerns, right, that I've heard from Environment Canada, Metro Vancouver, and other communities as well, looking at what this will mean for the freshet and the water reservoirs in the coming spring, and of course, the wildfire season coming up. Carrie, thank you so much for those points that you've raised.
You bet.
Yeah, good to hear from you. That's Carrie joining us from the south of Creston at Wendell. And our number, again, if you'd like to weigh in, is 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. And that lack of precipitation that we heard about from Carrie and others has left many basins in the eastern part of BC, a part of which Carrie lives in those drought conditions. And in the north, in the Peace and Fort Nelson basins, they went to the highest level of drought in July, and they are still at that level today. And we are now going to hear from the mayor of McBride on that very question. And it's of course, just about 180 kilometers east of Prince George. It's been in a state of local emergency since early May, and that was from an evacuation from the Tear Creek fire. Residents have returned since, but there's been that lack of rain and snow, and so emergency orders and water restrictions have been in place. And Mayor Jean Runts joins us now. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a bit more about the water levels in your community right now?
Okay, right now our problem is that our reservoir that we have it's called Dominion Creek. There is just a very low level of flow, and last June, for the first time ever recorded, there was no water, no snow in the Dominion Creek watershed on June the 1st. Later on in June, the part of the stream went dry. The stream comes out of what you would call a V-notch gully out of the mountains and hits lower elevations where where it's relatively flat. And from that elevation down, once it hits onto the flats, the stream only has flow in it for about the first 80 to 100 meters. After that, it's about a half kilometer where there's no water at all. And that's been the situation since last June. It's the situation we now have. Our reservoir is 300 meters lower than the area where the water is no longer flowing. And we are getting sufficient water into our reservoir because what happens is closer to our reservoir, there's clay underneath the soils, and the water then returns to the channel. However, now that I've said that, it's at a very low level, and we've installed monitors in the creek in two places that give us the depth of water at these elevations, at these locations, and all that tells us is our water staying constant, or is it continuing to drop? And right now I can tell you it's slowly dropping, but it is still sufficient to provide adequate water to the town. We are on an emergency situation, and the water is being rationed, but it's only being rationed to the extent we're asking people, instead of putting orders out that require them to do certain things, we've gone the route of requesting the people
It's
and informing
voluntary.
them. It's all voluntary, and
Eh,
they're doing a bang up job with it.
Okay, I was
And
going to ask why not put in place an order and put in place fines and keep it voluntary.
yeah, it's voluntary. That works a lot better. People do not like the fining system, and we're getting really good results from it. Monitored, and we know that now that the last several months, with the exception of one day, the water usage is down considerably from last year.
Okay.
So they're doing the best they can do.
Well, that's good to hear. What does this mean moving forward? As you say, you're looking at those levels slowly go down. What does this mean for the coming spring?
Well, right now, this winter, we've seen even less snowfall than last year. And last year was the lowest snowfall in record, and it was I think it was about 40% of normal. And right now, the problem that we've have is we're getting lots of clouds and a lot of storm clouds, but we're just not getting precipitation out of it. And then also the other thing is it's much warmer. So the lower elevation, like McBride itself, has no snow. Now I've lived here for 40 years in McBride, and this is the first year that we've ever had no snow on the ground this time of year. And we haven't had snow on the ground. We got a little bit in October, and we've been pretty much snow-free from November, December, and to this date in January.
And there is
So what that means,
there is some
yeah.
expected, right, in the next couple of days, but what difference would that make?
Well, it could make a huge difference because it's supposed to come with a little bit colder weather, and our problem is our snowmobiling areas right now, and it's a big deal. This is one of the major snowmobile areas in the province, and it's huge to the people here as an industry. And we've had just major cancellations over the Christmas time. We're getting some people coming in now, but the situation is that the lower elevations, we have trouble getting them to the snow higher up. And even at this higher elevations, it's the lowest. It's pretty dire. There just is not much snow there.
That's unsettling. Have you had any resources offered from the province, given that you are in this local state of emergency?
One thing that we don't know about is for the summer is even fighting fires within the town itself. Let's say if a fire breaks out, we don't know if we're going to have sufficient water to do that. Right now, we have sufficient water. If a fire breaks out, if it's contained to one property, which it usually is, then we've got water available for that. We do not know if we'll have that water available in the summer, and there's been a grant given to our volunteer fire department to make sure that we have adequate water for the summer, and that means we're looking at right now of tying into the Fraser River, and this would be pumps and different things to make sure that the water is available in case something big happens within town. And because the Fraser River runs through a piece of the town, that's also a major water source for fighting fire adjacent to the town.
You're certainly having to look ahead, months down the road, Mayor Runts. Thank you so much. All the best to your community. Thanks for the call. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you.
That is Mayor Jean Runts, who's the mayor of McBride. It's 25 minutes past 12 o'clock now, past 1 o'clock in the Mountain Time Zone. To another story now, it seems space is becoming a new frontier for memorializing loved ones. Well, next week, the ashes of a Vancouver woman will be on board a rocket to be launched in space. Her family has arranged this memorial journey in honor of her passion for the television show Star Trek. CBC's Saurabh Sandhu spoke with her son, Rod Nolan, and has this story.
Next week, when the ship known as the Vulcan rocket takes off from Florida, it will be flying with more than just spacefaring equipment. It will also carry the ashes of Gloria Nolan, a 86-year-old Vancouver woman who died in 2011.
She was very interested in things to do with space and extraterrestrials, the paranormal, and reincarnation.
An avid Star Trek fan, Gloria Nolan loved to collect replica starships, every Christmas adorning her tree with Star Trek ornaments. After her death, her children decided to honor her memory by sending her remains to space.
I think she would have been quite surprised at the fact that we had made this choice. I would honestly love to see her expression on that.
Nolan's ashes will be carried in a capsule aboard a deep space Voyager mission known as the Enterprise flight. The rocket takes off on January 8th from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, taking Gloria Nolan along with many other devotees of space to their final resting place. Saurabh Sandhu, CBC News, White Rock.
Thanks to Saurabh Sandhu for that story. You're with BC Today here on CBC Radio 1, CBC Gem, and you can use the CBC News app as well, or find us on YouTube at CBC Vancouver. $12:27 now, 1:27 in the Mountain Time Zone. Well, those holiday decorations may be down, but somehow there's a mess there still. At least that's the case for me. Is it the same for you? Or is there another disorganized, cluttered area that remains ignored? We are talking about decluttering for 2024 and asking you, what is the clutter that you're hoping to clear this year? What is your strategy for decluttering? And how do you keep things organized in the first place so that they don't pile up into a hot mess? You can call us 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can also hit pound 690 on your cell phone. By email, you can reach us at bctoday@cbc.ca. And I'm pleased to welcome back to the show Linda Chu, who's a professional organizer with Out of Chaos, and she's here with me in studio. Hello, Linda.
Hello, Michelle. Happy New Year.
A very happy New Year to you. How was your holiday season?
It was great. We're in the middle of some renovations, so we're sort of in rental accommodation, so a little bit disorganized, so it seems, but
yes,
as well as we can be.
And the name of your company then is apropos, Out of Chaos. It seems you're living in chaos right now.
It seems to be, but we're trying to put that at bay.
Well, tell me about this time of year, why it does seem like people are in that kind of transition of wanting to clear up space.
For sure. I think what has happened every year is as family all descend upon the home.
Right.
It is a very social time. You realize very quickly how much space you have to entertain and how quickly you are open your home to strangers or family. And then you realize, okay, this is the year I'm going to get organized once and for all.
Yeah, because this is a year I realize how much space I don't actually have because I have all this stuff there. And do you find people are calling you up in January? It's sort of like the gyms get busy, right? Like,
yeah, it's a resolution of in many cases, people realize that, all right, I need to find things. I need to, whether it's always around the diet or finances, and you're looking at better health. Well, how do you get to the Peloton when it's all trailing with all your clothing, for example? Or how do you cook a meal if you can't find your spices or your kitchen is all cluttered with everything that you throw at it?
Oh, what a good way to put it. Because, it does seem to follow that if you clear up space, if you clear that clutter in your space, you're kind of organizing your life as well. Mm-hmm. Linda Chu is with me, professional organizer with Out of Chaos. And we are taking your calls, asking you, what clutter do you need to clear in 2024? Do you have a plan or do you need advice? And let us know too how you stay organized so that you can avoid piling up that clutter. We'll go to your calls. Our number is 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. We'll go to your calls with Linda Chu coming up in a couple of minutes.
Good afternoon. Vancouver-based Arc'teryx has won a court battle against Adidas over a confusingly similar retail store in Kitsilano. A BC Supreme Court judge has granted Arc'teryx a temporary injunction before an upcoming trademark infringement trial after Adidas Canada opened a store under the name Terex last year. The search continues for a 21-year-old man reported missing in Kamloops last month. David Treisman was last seen on the city's North Shore December 8th. Kamloops RCMP say his family is worried because no one heard from him over the holidays. And a BC conservation group says it has purchased exclusive hunting rights to a quarter of the Great Bear rainforest. The Rain Coast Conservation Foundation says it took 2 years to raise nearly $2 million to buy the 18,000 square kilometer tenure off commercial hunting operators. And now taking a look at the forecast on the North Coast. Showers this afternoon with a high of 7. Highs to -6 with a mix of sun and cloud in the Peace. In the central interior, including Prince George, lots of sunshine with a high of 3. Highs around 2 with showers and flurries in the West Kootenay. Cloudy in the East Kootenay. In the southern interior, including Kelowna, a chance of showers with a high of 4. And for Metro Vancouver, Greater Victoria, and the Fraser Valley, rain ending this afternoon, then some sunshine with highs around 9. I'll have more local news at the top of the hour. Now back to Michelle with BC Today.
Do you have any decluttering projects?
Oh, yes, I do.
That list is there, is it? Just haunting you.
A lot of, not a lot, but some, yes.
Yeah. No.
Gets on your nerves over the holidays for sure.
It sure does. Okay, we're going to get some tips for you, Rob. Thanks so much.
I'll be tuning in, Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you. That's Rob Zimmerman in the CBC Vancouver newsroom. This is BC Today here on CBC. You can listen to us live on CBC Radio 1 or watch us live too. You can catch us on our YouTube page, that's CBC Vancouver. You can use the CBC News app or just go to our main website, cbc.ca/BC. And Linda Chu is with me, professional organizer with Out of Chaos. Yes, chaos seems to ring true, right? That Christmas chaos. We're asking you, what is the clutter that you're hoping to clear this year? What is your strategy for taking on a decluttering project? And how do you keep things organized for the rest of the year? Give us a call, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can hit pound 690 as well on your cell phone. If you'd rather email us, it's bctoday@cbc.ca. And Linda, it was interesting hearing Rob say, yes, I did. I found out over the holidays just what I needed to do. Are there particular spaces that do tend to get on our nerves and that we want to get to right away?
Well, it's the commonly used areas. So the living areas, the kitchen. The kitchen seems to be the drop zone. Everybody comes in. First thing they want to do is grab a snack, but on the counter, on the dining room table is where things kind of have to land.
Yes.
So usually it's those common areas are where the family and the household gathers, is where the first stab at organizing generally starts.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because what about presents? Because, there may be presents that you just want to store and put away. I go on Facebook Marketplace, and there are, lots of gifts that people don't necessarily want that are being sold. So what do you do with, I guess, all the incoming clutter that's coming
absolutely.
through?
You have to really do a really quick 1, 2, 3 in the sense of you kind of know in your gut where you have excess or whether it's something that you will use, regardless of the guilt that you feel that someone has given it
That's
to
right,
you.
that's true.
Skip
With
beyond
good intention, of course.
Skip beyond that first, and then go through, and it's the immediate yes, no, maybe.
Yes, no, maybe. Okay, so how do we sort things out into those categories?
So categorizing is always, in any organizing project, before you go into all the containment and things like that, I use a 5-step process using the acronym CLEAR to categorize, L to limit, E to evaluate really first what you want to achieve, then to allocate using containment, and then the removal process. Everyone starts with getting containers, getting the bins, all the visuals, but they haven't done their homework before they can get to the results. So the first step is really to categorize and really to start clearing that volume.
Yes, because I can imagine because I can imagine things feeling kind of overwhelming if you haven't done that yet. So categorize, limit anything new coming in, evaluate what your plan is, what your goal is in the first place, allocate, and then remove. Okay, clear. We're going to go back to that a couple of times so that you can remember from Linda Chu. That's that tip. That one of the tips that we're going to get over this half hour. Asking you to give us a call, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. What is the clutter that you need to clear? What is your strategy for clearing clutter in your home and in your life? Charlotte is calling us from Cortes Island. Hi, Charlotte.
Hi.
Hi, thanks for calling in. Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you too. And on Cortes Island we have we have a free store.
A free store, okay.
Where we can share our stuff if you need to get rid of things. And
yeah. And what have you used it yourself, Charlotte?
yeah, actually we call it the mall.
You call it the mall. Gotcha. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, everyone goes shopping at the free store.
Nice.
And it's all run by volunteers.
Wonderful. And so you're saying this is something that you can do, right? If you're trying to offload some clutter in your life.
Yes.
Yeah. And
share, the stuff that helps other people.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And it's great that we have more of these kinds of platforms where people can do that. And are there a lot of these? So you're on Cortes, but when it comes to those islands, are there a lot of these kinds of free stores?
The other ones that I know of are on Denman Island and Liskitty Island.
Okay. Well, there's such good communities, right?
Hornby Island, probably.
Yeah. Okay. What's something that you found at the mall that you've loved, Charlotte?
Pretty much all my furniture in my house.
Nice.
And a lot of my clothes. I just got a great pair of brand new Adidas sweatpants.
Oh.
All the
a treasure trove. Charlotte, thank you so much for the call. It sounds like we're having a little bit
Thank you so much for having me on the air. And let's help people, get rid of their stuff, because a lot of people need things, for free.
So true. You're hitting on various points there. It's not accumulating things, buying things secondhand, so that you're also making an impact on the environment, or reducing your impact on the environment, and of course helping others too.
There's a lot of charities that obviously will take on items that will pick up in your home at no cost, but there's a lot of these buy nothing groups that you can list items that you no longer have a home for or a need for, and others who have limited means are able to help themselves, so to speak.
Yeah, I always find too that there's such a nice conversation you can have with people when you do that, right? When you meet up, because people care about their things. And so this is something that I kept, or I collected that I had collected and now ready to pass on.
It's more than just a possession. It's the memories, the intention, and the emotion around that item.
Charlotte, thank you so much for sharing that call about the mall on Cortes Island. Our numbers again, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. Do you have a tip for clearing that clutter in your home? And if you have a project that you're hoping to tackle, you can tell us about it. Why is it important to you to be able to clear that clutter for 2024? Give us a call, 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733. You can email to bctoday@cbc.ca. And Deborah has a question by email. I still have a stack of photo albums, photos, and boxes of slides. Wow, slides from our move a couple of years ago. Any tips for sorting, removing, and storing all these images? That is a great question, Deborah. Thank you.
So when it comes to photographs and other media, I would recommend, there's going to be a budget attached to this. You can start scanning that media, including the slides, obviously all the photographs. Then you'll have a digital copy of that to share. So rather than one to many, you can have many people share that one image, so that in a digital format, you can email invite or put it into the cloud and invite people to look at that one image. So there's a lot of scanning services, perhaps going to a drugstore that does photography developing in the past. They have scanning services as well that you can use to scan that media into a digital format.
And in the spirit of your of categorizing, how would you then decide I still want the physical copy of a certain photo?
I would recommend on a high level basis do that categorization, which is to sort through, take out all the duplicates, the triplicates. Remember when you used to develop photographs, it would be a 24 and you get a double copy or a triple copy.
Right.
So you only need the one copy. Remove all the ones with your eyes closed, that's got a smirk on your face. So things that you wouldn't really feel happy to be broadcast to the world or online. So remove all of that excess volume and really take the cream of the crop. If you were to put things in that old school album, what are those photos that you really want to showcase?
Yes, whittle it down to the gold. Okay, the gold in the gold mine. Let's head to Tappan now, and Marie is on the line to talk about decluttering for 2024. Hi, Marie.
Hello there. My little rule is for everything that comes into the house, every new thing, at least 2 things have to leave. And they have to leave within 2 days, because that way you get right on it.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, how long have you been abiding by this rule?
Oh, probably 6 months now, because
really?
it's gotten a little bit crazy here.
Okay, so something happened to precipitate this 6 months ago?
No, that's,
It just got to be too
I
much.
work almost full time. I have a farm, and when I moved here, I ended up moving my business materials, artwork, that sort of thing,
Yes.
and all my son's stuff and my stuff from a bigger home, and so everything's crammed into a much smaller space.
Yes.
So
I get it.
about 6 months ago, I just decided enough's enough. And when people come in and you go, oh my goodness, to the outside eye, they probably think I'm a hoarder and I'm not, then you just kind of go, okay, time to take the reins and get it under control.
Good for you, Marie. And was it daunting when you first decided to do that?
Well, I'm writing them. Actually, no. And one other thing, if somebody gives you something that you really don't need, but you want a memory of it, you want to let go of it, just take a digital photo.
Lovely.
And then you have that not taking up too much space anymore, and you can still have the fond memories of it.
Absolutely.
But I invited friends over for New Year's because I knew it would help encourage me to get rid of a lot of stuff. And I honestly didn't have time to get rid of a lot of stuff. So what I did was I threw everything in bags out on my covered porch. So now when it quits raining and the weather's nicer, then I can go and do those 3 steps, the keep, get rid of, and take to the dump or donate. And then I can do that on the porch, nice weather, nice cup of coffee,
Right.
not feel so stressed and not be tripping over it in the meantime.
That sounds like a really great plan, Marie. Way to go. Good for you.
And one last thing.
Yes.
When you have piles of stuff, it can be really distressing. It's sort of stressful on your mind all the time.
Sure.
So I have one room that I'm still finishing renovating, and I've got all my tools and paints and that sort of thing in there. So I just piled everything up nicely. Then I threw a king-size blanket over it all and put a few Christmas decorations on top. So you don't get that visual clutter, and you have to keep it inside till you finish renovating, but you can still have guests over and they're not looking at this big pile of stuff, sandpaper and all that, and go, ooh, it's just like, oh, look at that little covered table.
Yes, and I think I hear wind chimes in the back. In the
You
background.
do. I'm looking out on my covered porch at all the mess here.
Marie, it's been such a delight hearing about your strategy. Thank you so much for the call.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That's Marie in Tappan. What a great plan she's got.
She did an actually perfect plan. So based on that clear process, the 5 steps, she actually followed the CLE.
Yes.
So she really evaluated what was true to her, what she really wanted, and what her objective is. She went to limit her items, what when item comes in, two goes out. So she made the discerning effort to limit what comes into her home.
Yeah.
But her categorization is she started to consolidate. She consolidated everything in one room, or in this case, in the porch, or one room in her home, so that it's not scattered throughout the whole
That's
house.
right. Yeah, she's really taken those steps. I love the tip too of taking a photo of something. If you don't think you're actually going to use this present, but it means something to you, take a photo so you can remember it. Keith is on the line now. We are talking about decluttering and what are the decluttering projects that you hope to take on this new year. What are your strategies and your tips? And if you have any questions, we're taking them as well. 1-800-825-5950, 604-669-3733, and pound 690 on your cell phone. Keith is joining us in Burnaby. Hi, Keith. Welcome.
Hi there. How are you?
I am fine. And what's your strategy for decluttering?
Yeah. First of all, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Thanks. It was already mentioned. A couple of things have been mentioned already, but the Buy Nothing group has been really great for me.
Yeah.
It does take a little time, and especially if you live in a condo and you just can't leave things out super easily. It takes a little bit of time, energy, and effort. And most people are pretty good at picking things up, but sometimes it can take a little bit of time, and you might get frustrated and just get rid of it other ways. But it is a good way to meet people in your neighborhood and get rid of things, and it's also a great way to get a few things that you might be ready to go out and spend spend some money on, and then you can essentially get it for free. So I've gotten some things that I could really use. Gotten a couple things that I'm like, why am I picking this up? Not really sure. Green light up glasses are one thing. They're fun, and I'll pass them on to my friend's kid. But
there you go. What's
catnip
something that has
spray.
been really useful?
Oh, the catnip spray has been phenomenal. I'm cat sitting my friend's cat right now, and just realized I had it and brought it back out, and it was quite entertaining for about 10 minutes or so.
And we'll save the light up glasses too, though. But yeah.
But one thing that I took note of is that it's interesting with the television show, on TLC and hoarders and all this kind of thing. The term hoarding is kind of thrown around, in my opinion, quite loosely. Sometimes, you might have a pile of, or a box of papers, and somebody jokingly calls you a hoarder. But personally, I grew up with that, and it's a true mental health issue. It's not just you've got some cans or something, or you've got a bottle of this, or too many photo albums. It's to the point that you can't open doors.
Yeah.
So one thing that I've heard that on the news a few times. It's treated kind of jokingly and but it's everyone's got some stuff, and it can turn into something else. But when it gets to the point that it's extreme and a health and safety and a fire issue, that's when it's extremely serious. But it just it takes time and energy to get rid of things. It's not you come home at the end of a busy work day, and it's 6 o'clock, and what do you want to do? YouTube or throw out some go through your papers, right? It's sadly sometimes an easy choice in favor of the YouTube. So
really important points. Yeah.
Yeah. It's certainly an issue, and it's gotten a lot of play in the last kind of 10 years, I feel, with it just being a bit of a joke almost. It's like, oh, you're a hoarder, you've got this and that. And it's like, everyone's got some things, but yeah. Anyway, I appreciate the time.
I really appreciate your call. Not to trivialize, right, the impact of clutter, but also what are some of the issues that can lead to letting clutter pile up in our homes.
Yeah.
Some of that is to do with that. Thanks so much, Keith. Really good to hear from you. Allison is up next in Victoria now. Hi, Allison.
Hi. I live in a tiny home that's 8 foot by 20 foot. So I have 200 square feet of living space. And I declutter monthly.
Yeah.
Because if I bring things in, I need to take something out because there isn't room generally for more things. If I want to own something, or I think I need something like a blender, I might buy one at a charity shop to see if I actually am going to use it. If I do, I might then upgrade if I need to a good one and donate that back. If I don't use it, it gets donated back.
Wow.
And I find I use a lot of multi-purpose items.
Yes.
So, for instance, my guest bed slash couch is also a storage unit underneath. So I've got 3 purposes from one thing. And the last thing is I surround myself only with things that are useful or beautiful. So that includes some family heirlooms. It includes the blender, things that bring me joy.
Things that bring you joy, yes. As Marie Kondo said, right?
Yes.
Allison, what a great example, right? You are, and anything else you can share from your experience living in a tiny home?
I had quite a few heirlooms given to me.
Yeah.
That meant something to me, but I didn't have a place for them, and my children didn't want them. So I took pictures of them.
Yeah.
So I still had the memory of them, but I didn't have the physical object. So it's still with me, and it's still in my mind.
Absolutely. Allison,
Yeah.
so good to hear from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. That's Allison.
Bye.
In Victoria in a tiny home. And the multi-purpose, I think, is really useful.
Multifunctional pieces of furniture. It's going to save you space, rather, 2 for the price of 1, so to speak. And Allison is perfect. You really have to make a concerted effort, especially when you're living lean and in a limited space. You've got to choose your stuff or your space. There's no door number 3, is what I say.
That's right. And I mean, it's such a common situation and experience for so many in British Columbia as well. Thank you very much for that call. And Ali is now joining us from Kelowna. Hi, Ali.
Hi there. How are you?
I am well. How do you tackle decluttering?
Well, I think the first step for me was to really recognize that I was trading my time for things.
Ooh, I see Linda nodding here. Okay, time for things.
Yeah. The amount of time I was spending organizing, shuffling around, cleaning, I felt like I was picking up the same items over and over and over again. And you get tired of that. And you recognize, or at least I did, I woke up one day and just said, I am so done. I'm so done with trying to figure out what to do with all these things. They just have to go. And, I like a lot of the strategies that the other people have said so far about finding a nice home where you feel like your thing is valued. You're benefiting charities. You can take pictures of things that really have sentimental value. But ultimately, for me, it was like, how do I want to spend my time?
Wow. It's not sorting and sorting and sorting.
Nope. Or cleaning. Oh my gosh, or cleaning it.
The more you have, the more dust it collects.
That's right. Wow. And so has that worked for you then? You just say, do I really need this? Is this something I want to spend my time on?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm quite ruthless about it now. Yeah. And I will say, in all of my decluttering and divesting myself of things, I've only had to go back once to the thrift store and buy back what I donated.
And you were able to find it?
Yeah, it was still there.
That's a win. That's a win. Yeah. Ali, thank you for the call. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Mary is on Salt Spring Island. Hi, Mary.
Hello, how are you?
I am fine. And what's your tip for decluttering?
I was listening to the lady earlier talking about going through all her photos and her cost slides, which I had some of. And I don't have any kids, so I've been doing a bit of a Swedish death clean. I went from 3 Rubbermaid containers of photos and slides down to half a container. And what I did was I only kept the pictures that had people in them. I really don't need those scenic shots of Maui on my 10th wedding anniversary 30 years ago,
Thank you very much. I love that call, Mary. And I just want to touch on that Swedish death clean. Aaron wrote us, I started to watch this show on Amazon Prime called The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning. They do a fabulous job with showing how to purge, why to keep things, and why not to keep things. I may be behind. I'm not aware of this.
Yeah, Amy Schumer is hosting that.
Okay.
So it's against the book, The Swedish Death Cleanse, and the premise being that, at a particular age, maybe 50-ish or so, the concept in Sweden is to, all the gifts that you have, you return them back to the giver with the view of sort of clearing out your space as you prepare for retirement.
This is fascinating. Thanks for the tip. I'm going to watch that show. I have just a minute left for Giuseppe in Chilliwack. I'd love to hear what your experience has been, Giuseppe.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
I have been decluttering since I retired. I am turning 70, and I live in a subsidized seniors place now. They're very small, very clean, very organized. My landlord's a church, and I donate my stuff now to places like Ann Davies Transitional Society. I don't know if they have one in the big city, but we have one here, and they support single women, and mothers, and street people. Same as Salvation Army. We donate at the closet there, and they don't sell. They don't sell. They give it away.
Right.
So, you know, the happiness in giving and helping others.
Giuseppe.
And yes.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt.
No
Sorry.
worries. That's part of my retirement and giving back.
I love it. Giuseppe,
in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, what a great point to end on, because we've touched on memory, on energy and cleaning, but also the intentionality that you have, Giuseppe. Thank you very much, and the thoughtfulness. Any last words that people can what values should they keep in mind as they
I think as you reflect over the last year and you move into the new year, you realize the abundance that you have in your life. And that abundance also comes with stuff that you received. And it's also a recognition of a life well lived in all the acquisitions that you've made in your life. So as you move forward, you can sort of shift that thinking into your abundance and how can you share that with those that are perhaps less fortunate and don't have the means. And then the art of donating, as Giuseppe said, and giving away some of your abundance and sharing it with others.
I have loved this conversation. It goes so far beyond just cleaning up stuff, right? Linda, always a pleasure to have you.
Thanks,
have
Michelle.
a wonderful 2024.
Thank you very much.
That's Linda Chu, professional organizer with Out of Chaos. That's it for our show today. My thanks to all of our callers. What a delightful program. Really love listening to you and hearing your calls. You can always email us as well, bctoday@cbc.ca. Thanks so much for joining us. And do join us tomorrow. Brian Minter will be here to take your gardening questions. So get your green thumbs and your dialing thumbs ready. That's tomorrow on BC Today. I'm Michelle Eliot. Thanks for listening and watching us. Have a wonderful afternoon.